probably noticed there's a lot of people worried about their safety because I identify as a 6-year-old. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter.
This is Stefonknee Wolscht, and this is, or should I say was, Stefonknee's family. However, at the age of 44, Stefonknee decided to leave her family behind for something far more important, to fulfill her lifelong dream of living as a 6-year-old girl.
Why, hello! Welcome to Stefonknee's Playtime. I hope my little sockets have been good. We have an adventure for you. Come on in and see what we found.
Stefonknee's other videos were equal parts hilarious yet disturbing, and often featured her best friend, a teddy bear named Strawberry. Stefonknee and Strawberry would often go on public playdates together.
Strawberry, thank you for inviting me for your play date. Aw, Strawberry, I love you. I'm so glad you waited here for me. I missed you.
However, not everything was smooth sailing for Stefonknee, as Canada's lack of public gender-neutral washrooms triggered her severe gender dysphoria. Apparently, Stefonknee would rather relieve herself in the middle of a restaurant than use a gendered washroom.
I really just gotta go pee.
So they had a men's washroom and a women's washroom, but why didn't they just call them bathrooms?
You might be thinking, well, this is just satire for a silly skit. In real life, Stefonknee doesn't actually act like a 6-year-old, does she? Actually, she does. Stefonknee took being a 6-year-old girl very seriously, so naturally, she needed a playroom for all of her dolls.
Today is my first day of having my living room as my playroom. Anyways, I just wanted you to see I made a tutu with my sewing machine, and it's for pretending to be a little fairy, a little ballerina fairy. So I love having this, and I have my Tinkerbell shirt from Kathy. Miss Kathy gave me this sweatshirt, and I have my sus so that I'm not scared.
Stefonknee really bought into her child identity and was so convincing that she even fooled some waitstaff into thinking she was 6 years old.
I love being 6 years old. Strawberry, you wouldn't imagine the adventures I've been having today. Oh my, there's so much to tell.
Yo, Stefonknee, you want something to drink with that?
Can I have a beer?
Oh, you can't have a beer, you're only 6 years old.
Despite being only 6 years old, Stefonknee enjoyed alcohol and cracking wildly inappropriate jokes.
I couldn't help but notice a little something coming out of your skirt.
Oh yeah, last night I wished for a little tail, and look, I got a little tail. That was a dream come true. This beer here, 3 years old. Ready? Oh my God, that's disgusting. But it's 3 years old, like wine.
Clearly not the worst thing you've ever had in your mouth.
One of the shortest things I've had in my mouth.
In addition to a witty sense of humor and incredible fashion sense, Stefonknee was also a talented rapper.
Hey, looky, see you looking at me. Freaking in a dress, got a setter message tree. Yeah, I said her, but for now just let it be. Sometimes the mind doesn't see what others see. They put the lime in the coconut and mixed it all up. Hey you, that's my coconut. Oh shit, what the fuck? Made the parts in my crotch feel funny to me when something's hanging out every time I go pee.
However, not everyone was fond of Stefonknee. Typical Leafs fan. Hey, that is no way for a 6-year-old girl to talk. This is what rock bottom looks like. So what exactly did rock bottom look like? For Stefonknee, it meant going to prison for crimes we'll discuss later, where she'd cope with being a criminal by doing what she does best, being a 6-year-old girl.
Like going to jail and spending 9 days in solitary, it's hard. But even in jail, I played. I made it a kingdom, I sang songs in there, and I just would not be an adult, so they couldn't hurt me.
According to Stefonknee, it had always been this way. Ever since she was a 6-year-old boy, She knew she wanted to be a 6-year-old girl.
I turned 6 in 1969, and it may have been that the news was covering Stonewall, that I knew that I saw something there that I identified with. I think I knew to hide myself even at 6 years old. I knew I was different, and this wasn't normal. Girls looked a certain way, and boys looked a certain way, but prior to that, I didn't even realize there were girls and boys. I think at 6 years old, with school and stuff, you became more aware. I soon started taking my older sister's hand-me-down dresses. I remember going out of my way to take this yellow dress out of the hand-me-down closet, and that was my first dress.
From there, Stephanie continued to grow up and eventually met Maria, her now ex-wife, in high school.
So going through high school, yeah, we did do the boyfriend-girlfriend dating stuff, and secretly I was still dressing and getting better at hiding it.
Despite all of this, the couple would eventually get married and have 7 children together, and for the next 23 years, Maria would protect Stephanie's secret. However, this all changed in 2014. When Stephanie decided she wanted to be a 6-year-old girl in public, Maria had finally reached her limit.
In the end, I just identified myself as a male lesbian, if that even exists, but that would be the only way to explain how I came to terms with who I am and how I feel. How she felt, I'm not sure. I thought she had accepted me for that, but obviously 23 years later, she asked me to make a choice, and she had grown tired of it after all that time.
After coming out to Maria, Stephanie came out to her children as well.
For the most part, the kids were pretty good, and the times when they were frustrated, I understand. It's an adjustment, and I think they would have preferred that it not be the way it was, but if that's the way it's gonna be, then they would make the best of it, and they're good little. The rest of them are all good allies.
However, after learning about their father's true identity, the children struggled to adapt. To deal with this, they wrote notes to Stephanie describing their feelings. I feel kinda weird that you wear dresses. Dad, I feel it is very embarrassing to see you walk around like that. I hate how you always make jokes about being a girl. It makes me feel weird around you. Seriously, I'm not crazy about the fact that you wish you were a girl. Every time I see you, I think you are about to walk upstairs and change into something girly or say something girly. I still love you for being my father, but you try to act like my mother. According to Stephanie, her family was unsupportive of her new identity and forced her to leave. Please, go make up with your children. Live whatever life you want to live, but at least attempt to be part of their lives in whatever small way possible. You don't understand. I never abandoned them. They asked me to leave and leave them alone. I can't contact them. Keeping that in mind, there are always 2 sides to every story. Shortly after the divorce, a restraining order was filed against Stephanie due to her threats, assaults, damages, and harassment towards the family. Stephanie's daughter Nicole, who was only 13 at the time, recalled the incident in a Facebook post. I wish there was a documentary about the people that you call monsters. You were a really good dad before we knew. You did everything you tell people you did, like take us to school and give me at least 4 hugs a day. But once you told us your difference, it was like you thought you didn't have to be a parent. We didn't ask for a father, just a parent, and you couldn't be that anymore. There were days that if I didn't want to paint your nails, you threatened to stop helping me with homework. I was 13 when you left, and you say that you couldn't handle the fact that we filed a restraining order. People need to know that you can't get a restraining order for being of a different mindset. You were a physical threat to Mom, and the day you left, more than one of your children thought you were going to come back to harm us. With this in mind, it was still I and 2 other children of yours who reached out to you on Father's Day, where I genuinely wanted to get closer to you. You took it as mockery and told me you didn't want me in your life and told me to go to hell. So thank you for continuing to make us out to be horrible people. Unsurprisingly, Stephanie's version of the story sounded a bit different.
Please text me if you want to, but I'm not ready for a call. Happy Father's Day. And I respond with, I'm going to kill myself.
Those are
Bye.
children. who are traumatized. We're there to protect our kids, Steph.
No, you're there to protect your kids. I haven't seen my kids in 5 years.
But
Completely ignoring the advice of her friends, Stefonknee then doubled down on this in a Facebook post. Facebook took down the friend request post from my daughter that was so hurtful towards me because I violated their policy. I hope all these haters, including my kids, are happy. This is my last posting here. I'm done with this BS. They don't deserve a father, transgender or not. At this point for Stefonknee, there was no going back. After she permanently destroyed her biological family, Stefonknee decided it was time to join a new family, but this time, as a 60-year-old child. I have a mommy and daddy, an adopted mommy and daddy, who are totally comfortable with me being a little girl, and their children and their grandchildren are totally supportive. Stefonknee had previously lived as an 8-year-old girl until the couple's granddaughter asked her to be the younger sister instead. A year ago I was 8 and she was 7, and she said to me, "I want you to be the little sister, so I'll be 9. I said, well, I don't mind going to 6, so I've been 6 ever since. Stefonknee's new identity as a child also meant she was now free of the responsibilities an adult would have to endure. In the winter, Stefonknee earned money by plowing snow, and when she was at home with her adoptive family, they colored and did kid stuff. It's called play therapy, no medication, no suicide thoughts, and I just get to play. Although this may seem wholesome at first, Stefonknee's relationship with her parents was anything but that. Stefonknee had originally met her adopted father on FetLife, a social media platform for the fetish community. Upon meeting, it was love at first sight for the quote-unquote father and daughter.
He took my and it didn't hurt. It felt beautiful. I felt like a woman. And like, I'm surprised. I didn't think I was going to be pregnant. Like, I was so much a girl, and I actually have an right now from it. So I'm just going to pull my dress down a little bit.
While incredibly disturbing in its own right, from a legal point of view, there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with Stefonknee and her adoptive father's relationship. On the other hand, the same cannot be said about Stefonknee's comments on taking down flower girls as young as 3 years old.
I can officially say I'm the world's biggest flower girl. I don't, like, you know, if a bigger flower girl comes along, I'll take her on. I can take her down. I've taken down so many flower girls. Like, these little 3-year-olds come up to me, say, "You're not a flower girl." I said, "Don't push it, kid. I can so take you on. I'm 6.
Despite making disgusting comments like these, Stefonknee didn't seem to understand why she didn't have more fans.
You've probably noticed by now that Stefonknee is being trended because of some of the hate that's been out there. I'm glad everyone is watching my videos and learning about transphobia and the hate crimes towards trans people. And because of that, I have a secret to tell you. Come a little closer. A little bit closer. Okay. I'd like you to be my socket. Sockets are what I have down on my socks because it's hard for boys to get frilly socks, and so we have these little frilly sockets that we can add to any sock, and it shows that we're not transphobic and we're okay that sometimes boys identify as girls, and it's the difference between the given gender and our self-expressed gender, and it's called transgender. So if you are a socket and you'd like to learn more about supporting the trans community and stopping transphobia, look into my website and find out about how you too can purchase sockets and support trans people in your community.
While, quote, supporting trans people in your community might seem like a noble idea to some people, there is no mention of any partners or charities STEFZ Island Playtime is aligned with. Instead, it seemed that proceeds from the sockets were going straight to Stefonknee's pockets. We also can't ignore the soundtrack Stefonknee graciously provides us. Let's set the mood as she intended. The rest of Stefonknee's website contained even more concerning content, including an entire section dedicated towards age play. If you aren't familiar with the topic, let's hear from sex therapist Heather Shannon.
So age play is a type of kinky play where at least one of the people in the scene is going to be playing with age, by typically reducing their age to a child. So you might hear the term little, and that's going to mean anybody who is playing a part of about like 8 or younger.
In addition to featuring videos like this one, Stefonknee's website also featured a chat room for the community. Hey all you fun littles and sissies, welcome to a fun island of sand and beach. Bring your best friends, a buck and shovel, and your imagination for a fun-filled holiday on STEFZ Island. Please come back whenever you need a friend that believes in the power of play. Hugs, Stefonknee. Unfortunately for Stefonknee, not everyone was a fan of STEFZ Island. Men, you need to accept the reality. Go to a therapist who tells you the truth, not just what you want to hear. Facts over feelings. You're dying. Stefonknee Wolscht is a dangerous. However, anonymous internet users weren't the only ones fed up with Stefonknee, as she had also made enemies within the transgender community, including popular trans influencer Blair White.
People like Stefonknee actually use the trans label as a protective force field to stop people from criticizing their predatory behavior. It's not who they are, it is their scapegoat. Now, Stefonknee is not a trans woman. Stefonknee is a fetishist posing as a trans woman. If you don't believe me, Stefonknee actually has a FetLife account, right? Where the entire basis of their posts and activity is on them being trans. That's not being trans. Sorry.
That brings us to today, where Stefonknee has big news to share to the world. She had finally released her long-awaited autobiography. Holding On by a Thread is a beautiful autobiography that captures the human spirit through the eyes of a persecuted transgender individual on the edge of society. The story focuses on exposing systemic shortcomings, inclusivity, and human perseverance. Tragically, the only shortcoming of Stefonknee's story seemed to be the book itself. A tale of narcissism. There is nothing heartwarming about this. A man abandons his wife and kids in order to live a life devoted to fantasy and misogyny. Author claims victim status, yet actually seems to be the perpetrator. Not worth reading at all. Normalizing harm to women and children. Man with autogynephilia and other issues, deserted wife and 7 children to identify as a 6-year-old girl. He demands entrance to female-only spaces that include your underage daughter. When will we wake up from this? Yes, read it and see what is really going on, and what is being normalized that a short time ago was clearly identified as mental illness and/or fetish. Naysayers aside, Stefonknee, who is now 60, has made it her mission to help develop programs and protocols for transgender inclusion and awareness in Canada. According to Stefonknee, her life story of resilience stands as a testament to her profound commitment to utilizing personal challenges as a means to educate, entertain, and inspire inclusion and acceptance throughout the world. Now, whether any of this is true or not is up for you to decide. However, one thing is for certain. The story of Stefonknee Wolscht is truly an unforgettable tale.